Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It's Sunday, it is match day. It is Manchester United versus Arsenal at Old Trafford in just a few hours' time. So, of course, today's show is going to be dominated by that game. We'll look at the predicted 11 for Arsenal. We'll look at the latest team news, look at what Man United might do as well. Look at some of the big decisions, I suppose, facing Mikel Arteta. Got some questions and comments from you. And, of course, we'll have to react to yesterday's football in the Premier League. Arsenal no longer sitting on top of the pile after Manchester City's 4-0 convincing, as expected, win at Fulham. So plenty to get stuck into today. And what is a huge day for Arsenal. We've been waiting all week for this one. Manchester United versus Arsenal. It's always one of the biggest games in the English football calendar, even if Manchester United right now don't really feature too heavily in Arsenal's mind when it comes to rivals in the Premier League because of the difficulties they have faced. But it's still a huge game. It's still got such history sort of surrounding it. And of course, it's got massive, massive significance this season. Just the penultimate game of the season. Can you believe that? We've only got 2 games left of the season for Arsenal. Now, what are we going to do in just a week's time? At least we've got the Euros this summer. So it's not just total absence of football until pre-season starts again. But just a huge day for Arsenal. It's a game they absolutely have to win because of what happened yesterday at Craven Cottage. Manchester City going to Fulham, running out convincing 4-0 victors. Just 2 goals difference now in terms of Arsenal's advantage in the goal difference. Man City have been eating away at that in recent weeks. They've been scoring 4, 5, 4 all of the times. And yeah, I wasn't really watching it yesterday. I was out and about with my kids Saturday, but I was obviously keeping track on my phone to see what was happening. It was just like Gvardiol again. Last season, it was Gundogan, wasn't it, at this stage of the season, just coming up for him in every single game, scoring huge goals. And suddenly Gvardiol, of all people, was morphed into their new version of Gundogan for this season, popping up with another 2 goals yesterday. Foden and Alvarez, even that goal right at the end in injury time, just to bring the gap down in the goal difference by another goal was a little bit of a sort of hammer blow for Arsenal. And I have to admit, for me, I looked at that one. That was the game I thought if City were going to drop points between now and the end of the season, it was going to be at Fulham. It didn't happen. They're winning games so convincing. They're looking so dominant. Even at 1-0 yesterday, I watched about a sort of 20-minute period when I was sitting down and my kids were doing their gymnastics and ninja classes. I watched it on my phone. City had scored. It was 1-0 when I flicked it on. I watched about 20 minutes, or it may be less than that, to start the second half. And Fulham had a couple of attacks where maybe they could have done something better. But it just, you could see, even if Fulham had equalised, got themselves level, City would have just gone up another 2-3 levels and got themselves a goal. They just looked that dominant in that game. And that's the worry for me. I've said it before, I don't see where Tottenham hurt them. And I certainly don't see where West Ham hurt them. So it's a really difficult one for Arsenal. I hope they don't get a bit demoralised by that win yesterday. I hope that doesn't affect them in today's game. Remember at the end of last season when Manchester City went and hammered Everton at Everton, and then immediately afterwards Arsenal just didn't turn up in that game against Brighton, and it just felt like that win at Everton had sucked the life out of everyone at Arsenal, including the fans, because the atmosphere that day was very, very flat because everyone had watched that City game just before. And I hope we don't see a similar sort of thing like that. I don't think we will, because I think this is a very different Arsenal team. I think mentally they're very different to what they were last season. I think we'll see Arsenal go out and do what they usually do. But I mean, you look at that now, it's just 2 points of difference. City ahead with, they've got 3 games to go. They've got 2 games to go now. Arsenal move 1 game ahead of them again with that match tonight. But just got to win. Absolutely. That's all it is. It's just win. And it's been like that for the last few weeks. And Arsenal have done that. They've managed to just win. City have answered them every single time. But that's all Arsenal do. Keep doing it and hope that someone, Tottenham, can do them a favour later on in the week. But, you know, if Arsenal don't get the job done at Old Trafford today, then that Tottenham game is irrelevant anyway. So they've just got to win, try all they can to put the pressure on Manchester City and see what happens. Looking at the big decisions facing Mikel, obviously, I think left-back's the big one today, depending on what happens at Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu is obviously a doubt. He hasn't trained that much this week. Well, we don't know if he's trained at all this week. He certainly wasn't training at the start of the week. Don't know if he's come back into it. Also, obviously, put out training pictures. Tomiyasu wasn't involved in that. That doesn't mean he wasn't training. The same goes for Saka. So I think left-back's the key position. I'm expecting Saka to start. I'll be so surprised if... I think Saka basically has to have a broken leg to not be playing in this game today. But Tomiyasu, we know it's slightly different. If he's got one of his muscle injuries, then he'll certainly be a doubt for the game. And then it's what do you do at left back? You've got your 2 sort of main options. Yes, Jurrien Timber is back in and around it now, but there's just no way that Timber's going to come into the equation to start this game. I'd be staggered if that was the case. So you're looking at Zinchenko and you're looking at Kivior as the two candidates to come in and replace Tomiyasu. I'd say it's going to be Kivior. Zinchenko certainly feels like he's way down in the pecking order now when it comes to left back. So I'd be doubtful if he suddenly comes back into the equation, especially when you look at the threat that Manchester City have and where they're probably going to hurt Arsenal. It'll be on those transition plays where they can use their counter-attacking prowess, which they do have. We saw that, to great effect at Old Trafford last season when United beat Arsenal 3-1. We saw it at the Emirates this season as well when Garnacho had the goal ruled out for offside after the quick transition towards the end, and even Marcus Rashford's goal in the first half was, again, a sort of transition breakaway from United, which hurt Arsenal. So I just don't really see Zinchenko being the option, especially with Ben White now playing in that inverted sort of right-back role. So I'd expect Kivior to come in and be the left-back. If Saka's not fit, probably Gabriel Jesus, I would say, would be the likely option. But as I said, I'd be very, very surprised if Bukayo doesn't make it for this game. So this is my predicted 11 for today's game. This is the 11 that I would go for as well if everyone's fit. It's the same 11 we've seen in the last couple of games. I just don't see any changes to it, barring any injuries. So I'm going Raya in goal, back four, White, Saliba, Gabriel and Tomiyasu. If Tomiyasu isn't fit, Kivior would be my pick, and it's what I would expect Mikel Arteta to do as well. Then obviously the midfield picks itself right now in terms of Partey, Odegaard and Declan Rice. And then the front three, Saka, Havertz and Trossard. Like I said, if Saka isn't fit, Jesus would probably be my first choice to come in on the right-hand side. Trossard, I think he definitely plays. I can't see Martinelli coming back in. I've not seen the form of Martinelli to suggest he's suddenly going to come back into this team. I think he'll be on the bench once again. Looking at what some of you guys have had to say ahead of the game in terms of what you want to see from Mikel Arteta. Here's one from Renita from Mumbai, India. Thank you very much for your message, Renita. Appreciate it. You say you're starting 11. You've got Martinelli on the right-hand side if Saka is unavailable. You've put in brackets there. Then Havertz and Trossard complete in the front three. You've got a midfield as well of Rice, Partey and Odegaard. And then you've got Kivior at left back if Tomiyasu is unavailable. Gabriel, Saliba, White and Raya. So that's the same team as me, basically. And then you've got your subs as Timber, Kivior, Ramsdale, ESR, Jorginho, Jesus. You just hope Arteta is calm and composed on the touchline and does not warrant another yellow card, as that could keep him away from the touchline for the last match of the season at home against Everton. Thanks to James, Benj and yourself for excellent content on Inside Arsenal, extra time in Inside Arsenal. No problem. Thank you very much for getting involved. Renita, I hope all is well over in the bustling city of Mumbai. I'd love to get over to India. I haven't done that yet. It's one country I haven't managed to get to. Would love to get over there. It'd be a proper bucket list moment to get over and watch England versus India test match. It'd be fantastic. Really good point there about Arteta. Obviously, if you don't know, he's one booking away from a touchline ban. So if he got booked today against Manchester United, it means he wouldn't be able to be on the touchline against Everton for that final game of the season, which, if Arsenal still have a chance of winning the title, would obviously be a big, big blow to him and the players and the team. So it's very, very important that he keeps himself cool and he keeps that in his mind as well, and he doesn't lose it. We see him with Arteta. He doesn't mind having a word, does he, with a fourth official? He certainly likes to attract attention from the referee, so he needs to keep his head just as the players need to keep their heads today in what will be a pretty hostile and tense environment. Aurora Freak here has got in touch. She said, I'm so nervous. I don't know why, because United are so shite, but we should go with the same 11 as the last two games. Agreed. My question for you is, if Timber is back, who would you drop from the bench? In my opinion, it'll be interesting to see, but I probably guess it'll be Eddie. Yeah, I imagine it'll be Eddie or a Vieira or a Smith Rowe. To be honest, I don't think he'll come back on the bench. I think the fact he didn't last week and the fact Arsenal have got so many options at left back right now, I just think obviously it's fantastic that Timber is. Maybe he'll come in for the game against Everton, but I just think, given what's at stake at the moment, I think every player on that bench, although you can only use 5 of them, I think every player on that bench you need to know is fully up to speed, because if something happens where you think, I've got to bring him on, you've got to be completely trusting in your mind, if you're Mikel Arteta, that they are ready, that they are sharp, and that they can come on and make an impact at a moment's notice. And I just don't think Timber can really be considered as being there yet because of his lack of game action. And so I think that's probably why he wasn't included in the squad last weekend, and it's why I probably don't think he'll be included in the squad tonight either, and potentially even for Everton, because I just don't think Arteta can 100% trust that he is absolutely ready to come on and make a difference in a moment that could potentially win Arsenal the title. So yeah, but I think if he does, and I'm wrong, then yeah, probably Eddie, because you'd have Jesus on the bench, or maybe a ESR or a Fabio Vieira, I would say. Right, here's one from Dotty Dots. Says the title race is over for us. It's important for our momentum, mentality, reputation, and progress that we take it to the final day mathematically and make when City win every game. We force them to go their longest ever unbeaten run to win it this time, which is a credit to our team. I would love to see us treat Man United match as our cup final and try to absolutely batter them. That'd be nice. If we can't have the league trophy, we could at least end it by embarrassing that lot. Yeah, 100%. And I kind of agree. Look, in terms of the title race is over, obviously it's not mathematically. So I get what you're saying, and I kind of feel very similar, and I felt like that for the last week or so now. But like you said, I think it's so important for Arsenal. They do take it to the final day. It'd be really disappointing if they just hand it to Manchester City. Now, you want to make them win it, and Arsenal have been making them win it in the last few weeks, and you just want them to go right to the final day. It'll be another step forward for this Arsenal team. I think if they can do that, and like you said, they've forced Manchester City to basically, it's 21 games unbeaten in the Premier League now, winning, I think, 17 of them. They've forced Manchester City to go on one of their remarkable runs to do it. And it would just be nice for Arsenal, for the fans, for the players, for next season, if they can do that. Just continue. Don't hand it to them like they did at the end of last season with that defeat at Nottingham Forest. Go to Trafford, get another statement win at a ground where they've really struggled, and make Manchester City win it. I think that's really, really important. So I think that's a good question for you there. And here's Bruce, a slightly more optimistic take on things, rather compared to Dotty Dot. He says Spurs could still be a team that do Arsenal a favour. As long as Liverpool beat Villa on Monday night, that would give Spurs a fighting chance of making the Champions League if they can win against City on Tuesday. Spurs then face a deflated Sheffield United on the last day, while Villa are away at an informed Palace. All irrelevant, of course, if Arsenal don't win against Man United. Exactly. Arsenal just have to win. And then all of these other permutations, then we can start to think about it. I will say, though, Tottenham did a lap of honour after their game yesterday. It wasn't even their final home game of the season. I know Man City's a night game. They don't really want to do a lap of honour after an evening game because fans want to get home and it's late and all of that sort of stuff. So I get that, but it still wasn't a great look that they've still got another home game of the season, and yet they're doing a lap of honour yesterday. I saw the band who always play down below in the concourse as well were also singing, and all the fans down there, thousands of fans, were joining in with songs of "We're City until July," which again, I think sums up a lot about what the atmosphere is going to be on Thursday night for them. I think it's Thursday or whatever day that game is next week. Even if the players are up for it, even if Postecoglou is up for it, which I'm sure he will be, because they're not Spurs fans, they're employees of the clubs, they're players, and they want to play in the Champions League, so they will be up for it. The atmosphere is going to be so strange, so subdued, and so lacking of intensity that I think that's going to filter through into the players. But we shall see. And like you say, look, all irrelevant if Arsenal lose and don't win against Manchester United. So that's what they've got to do. That's the task ahead of them today. Fingers crossed they can do it. I'll try and do a video after the game with my player ratings and stuff like that. Come back to reply to this if you want to get involved in it. Give me your immediate take on full time on what you've seen from hopefully a fantastic win. But let me know in the comments below. I'll pull some of them together and get them in the immediate post-match reaction show. And then, of course, tomorrow I'll do a much more in-depth show looking at the game as well. Until then, have a fantastic Sunday. Enjoy the sunshine while you can. Come on the Arsenal. Bye-bye.